Howdy guys, I want to go over the REI ASL Arete 2. The ASL is their all-season version. When you're looking for something in between the 3-season backpacking tents and a true mountaineering tent, this is kind of where they came in. This is an older version. I've waited over 2 years to do this review simply because I wasn't sure if this concept would work. I've owned many mountaineering tents, from some cheaper ones to very expensive ones, including the Mountain Hardwear Trango 2, which was one of my favorite ones. And there are a lot of features on this ASL that are incorporated in here that were found in the $600–700 Trango, and we're going to be going over that. So what makes an all-season? It's a sort of in between. The biggest difficulty with the mountaineering tents is they take up a lot of room in your pack and they are heavy. You look at the Trango 2, the Trango 3.1, those are right around 10-pound tents, which is kind of ridiculous. Well, what do you need a mountaineering tent for? Those in-between seasons when you get caught in an early snowstorm or a late snowstorm. So the poles have to be thick enough to handle a snow load. The geodesic design of the tent has to be strong enough to hold that load itself. So the ASL has bigger poles. It's using a 3-pole design, which adds a little bit of weight considering a lot of the other poles are newer hub poles and things like that. Where it saves the weight is in the fabric that they use. You can kind of see, that's the reason I'm over here, how the sunlight goes through that sil nylon. So some of the features that they used in here are to save weight. So it is not a true mountaineering tent that you would summit Mount Rainier in or go to the Alps or something in. But for most of us who are just the in-between seasons or the quick weekend guy who may get caught in in a winter storm, or you like to take storms. Unfortunately, I actually didn't take this out last winter much because I was testing out some tarp designs. And as many of you guys follow my channel, I enjoy tarp camping immensely in the winter. But I waited to do this review to get enough time because I wasn't sure, like I said before, if this concept would work, of the lightweight materials with sort of the heavy design. And I have been absolutely thrilled with this thing. As I'll mention in here, this is an older version. They do have a newer one that may have a couple of the nitpicky things that I have about the tent. I'll figure it out. And all right, well, putting it together is fairly easy. For any of you that are thinking about buying it, I do fold this in thirds. The fly sits on top, and then I'm going to get spread out and staked out, and then I'll show you what makes the poles so great. Alright, it is a 3-pole main design, and it's a hybrid sleeve and clip system. Most people don't care for the sleeves because it takes a little bit longer to do, but what I want to show you is the tip of this guy is rounded. One that aids in not snagging on the sleeve, and the other thing is the sleeves have nothing on that side to go into. They just merely stop. So when I put this in there, I'm only putting in the, see if I can do it one-handed here. I'm only putting the sleeve in from this side, and I don't have to go to that other side and put it into a clip or anything. It merely just stops, and I'll see if we can demonstrate that. Alright, now to aid in putting this together, I put the center hoop through already. I don't really attach it all the way. And then you just feed the poles. I'll feed both of them together before I try to put anything into a grommet. Once you've got the 3 poles in and into the front grommets, come back and add the clips. One thing I want to point out is the extremely taut pitch of this thing. Once it's all snapped in, there's very little flex. The most flex here is in this longer side. Your ventilation, because this is a sort of all season, is minimal. And it's just these two vents here and here. As I mentioned before, this may have slightly different features because this is an older model. The main front door also has the mesh access, and then as well as the ability to close that mesh with an actual panel. Beyond having a 3-pole design for strength, the size of the pole and the strength of the poles are extremely done well. There is the pole sleeve, his mesh design here, so that you can allow a little more ventilation to flow in between the tent body and the fly. A couple things that you'll see that are very similar to mountaineering is the addition of Velcro. The fly itself will attach to the tent body instead of just being on the clips at the bottom. You're going to see a lot of other sort of mountaineering features, and that goes all the way around. It follows along the door. There's multiple points where the fly attaches the tent body to create just a rock solid shelter. Once you get it all staked out, the vestibule, you'll see it has a very narrow footprint. This is a 2-person version. It is set up to basically bear the wind. I started using this on the tail ends of our wildland fire season simply due to the afternoon windstorms and thunderstorms that roll through. And this thing handled it extremely well. It was quite comical when we were in Wyoming that one of the biggest guys on our crew had one of the smallest tents. Most guys you'll see buy the sort of family fiberglass pole Walmart version. One for its price, and two because they're not really expecting anything else. This thing was crazy bulletproof, and right here I will insert a clip of why you need to have a tent that is more than just the fiberglass pole. As you can see, this thing handles wind extremely well. Very tight, and that was with the 6 stakes. You've got 2 stakes here at the end of the vestibule. You have 4 in each corner, and then the second sort of hoop pole at the end also has one. And that's the extent of the stakes that they give you. The one issue that I've had with this is if you can see how the fly body is up against the tent right there. And what you need is 2 more stakes to get this away and off that tent body. It helps tremendously with condensation. They are not included in this, but as I said before, this may be an issue that they fixed with their previous versions. You'll see guy out points on the outside for additional. Of course, you'll need stakes and rope for that. It did not come with that. But because this attaches to the tent itself through those Velcro loops I showed you, when you guy this out, you're not just pulling on the fly, you're pulling on the entire structure of the tent to guy this out. There is a 4th small pole that keeps the sort of air ventilation area open. For one, it helps keep the tent not being lifted up in strong winds, but again, it also aids in cross ventilation. We'll go inside and I'll show you a little bit more. So, because of this front door only design, you'll see that the front door off the vestibule is very narrow. That is one negativity that I have, merely because I am a broad-shouldered individual. It does have a see-through window, so you don't have to open the door in the morning if you don't want to. It does have a slightly built-in sort of wire to keep this hood and ventilation scoop into the tent and then out the sides. I do appreciate the double zippers so that you can add the ventilation as such if you don't need to take the entire thing down. They do add off the vestibule a small hook to keep the zipper from holding all that load. There's also zipper or Velcro along this storm flap that covers the zipper, which is a great feature. The quick adjustment on the vestibule here is really nice. Once you get this staked out, it will slightly loosen up and stretch on you, and so every morning you can kind of come up and make sure that it's, you know, held up tight for the next windstorm that afternoon. And to take it down all the way, you have to use this third zipper so that you can actually open the door. So we'll do that here. Pretty sure I can do it with one hand. So as you can see, you can get all three zippers over to this side and out of the way. There is a small mesh pocket here to keep the door sleeve, or the door, sort of tucked away when not in use. Again, this guy's a little bit loose. I'm just going to tighten it up and pull back, and if I can do it with one hand, and it will lock back on. The door itself has a mesh and fabric panel. I'm not sure if I can do this one hand. There we go. And you're welcome to the inside. As you can see, it is sort of a trapezoid shape. It does get narrower towards the back. The head has a little bit more room. All along the back wall there is a mesh panel for gear storage. You'll see the two ventilation guys up here. Not only do they shut completely, but the mesh itself opens. Whether you need to actually pass through or do something while you're inside your tent, it's handier than you might think. There's a center guy line here. Something that happens on mountaineering tents is they include internal guy out points, and whether you're stringing up clothes or stringing these together to create an internal web to hold the tent together, just depends on your situation and what you need. But a lot of mountaineering tents are including this internal guide system so that you can actually run a cord from post to post and help draw the tent together and hold it all there. So as I said, you can close this. The door has a full mesh panel as well. When you're not using it as such, it has its own mesh pocket back here, so you can keep the door out of the way. It doesn't have any of those little clips or toggles, which I really enjoy. The side here has a gear pocket, as well as this side. So to sort of sum it up, you know, the narrow access door can get you, especially if you have wide shoulders, and when it's just rainy and nasty out, that whole vestibule area is going to be covered in dew and condensation and rain and whatever else you got, and it's hard to get in and out of there without getting wet. It just is for me. I'm a bigger guy. I will carry 8 stakes minimum to guy out or stake out that middle section of the fly to help keep it off the tent body. But other than that, coming in at the weight that it does, it offers a tremendous amount of protection from the weather. The color is not too obnoxious. I don't like the bright orange rescue mountaineering type tents. I understand its functionality to, you know, when you're in a whiteout situation trying to get up to the summit, it is nice to see. But the sort of off green color that this is with minimal bright orange has been pretty nice. It hasn't been too obnoxious. It's easy to spot. But like I said, they have 2 different versions. The Arete, and I believe it comes in a 2 and a 3 man, and then they have the Circa, and it is more of a 2-door design. So take a look at those. I'm going to add in whatever pictures I can find over the last 2.5 years of me using this tent, and you know, it is certainly one of my go-to tents. Even in hot weather, it hasn't been overly hot because the way they designed the ventilation on here. It is not a full mesh, but when it gets colder at night, in desert situations, in winter situations, it is nice to be able to close those up a little bit. But yeah, this is Beast with the REI ASL Arete 2. Thank you for watching.